Alrighty, sports fans. It is 6:19 a.m. Been on the road again since about 4:30, maybe 5. Had to stop in Tehachapi to get a little rest. Was nodding out. Didn't want to cause myself any harm or anybody else on the road, so called it a night. Just reaching Arvin, California. Now at 26 hours on a 6-hour drive. This is getting insane. Though, I gotta say that having that much time to yourself on the road to think about things and let things just come naturally and just opening yourself to opportunity can change your way of thinking, can change a lot of things. Yesterday I had a lot of engagement, which I think was important, and I continue to think is important moving forward. I can't believe that someone such as myself that never had a problem engaging with people and was as social as a butterfly as anybody could hope to be in life, has become a incel and is socially anxious when being in public around people. It's kind of a hard thing to grasp, not understanding how I've become that. But anyways, enough time alone, I guess anything can happen, right? Enough time alone with your thoughts, you can think a lot of horrible things. You need that feedback loop from people, even if it's from random strangers, just to not second guess yourself, not to beat yourself down. I've definitely come to realize that I myself am by far my worst enemy. It's kind of insane the things that I've been doing lately that literally put myself in extreme risk of jail or other harmful things that for no reason whatsoever. Taking great situations and just tossed them away for no purpose. I have no idea whatsoever why I would do that, but I have, and I do, and I continue to, and I'm going to figure out how to fix that. Try to turn that around and into a positivity loop, and do good things for myself and for people I meet. And like I said, yesterday was a long day, but the first step in the right direction towards that. I don't remember exactly what I said yesterday, but I saw a guy in the middle of the desert in a diesel truck with his hood up, all by himself out there. So, a lot of people wouldn't stop, scared of what could happen or whatever, but I just pulled off on the highway and pulled up on him and said, "Hey, what's up? You need some water? What's going on?" And honestly, the guy was super nice, super thankful that I did it. Just, didn't want anything from me. He was perfectly fine, just waiting for a guy to come fix the serpentine belt. But we had a good conversation. Nothing earth-shattering or whatever else. Just a good conversation. Something that I don't get often from people these days, which is sad. But it also is what's led to my social anxiety. That when I do engage with strangers or whatever else, like, a lot of people look at me sideways just for doing it. A lot of them don't appreciate the things I have to say, which, I can be a little off-putting to people, get people a little excited, definitely, for sure. I have a unique talent of saying just the wrong thing that can really floor people, or I have the ability to say just the right thing to change people's worlds and change people's lives in the way they think in a positive direction. I've experienced both throughout my life numerous times. Unfortunately for me, I don't think before I speak, it just comes out. So that can be a very dangerous thing. It gets you a lot of trouble, and it can do a lot of good things too, though. I've experienced both in engaging with people throughout my life, and I wish every time it was on the positive side, never on the negative side. Anybody that I have, given the negativity to on that stuff, I apologize to every one of you. It's not ever what my true intention was or what I ever meant to do. But I am a good antagonist at times when those opportunities arise and I'm, not in good headspace and do that. Like, it's almost kind of like a game, and, it can go either way. Positivity breeds positivity, and negativity breeds negativity. It's as simple as that. It's magnetism. So, hang around negative people, you're going to be negative. Hang around positive people, you're going to be positive. I don't want to be negative anymore about anything. About life, about people, about what's going to happen. I mean, I don't know. That's not for me to say, but I can try my best and I can be as positive as possible and share that with others and hope for good outcomes. Obviously, that doesn't guarantee them, but I think it's a good first step, and at least going to try it. I know in the past, like, that's been really effective. Like, if you're happy and being positive all the time, like, it does draw people into you that want the same thing, that feel good around you. Like, I know that when I'm shitty and when I do bad things and when I act in negative ways, that it does the same thing to repel the people I want around. Which I miss a lot of people in my life that were really good friends and family, and it's a very difficult thing to come to terms in life when you know that it's you that has caused the things that have happened. As much as you want to deny it, as much as you want to blame others, as much as you want to do anything you can, but take the accountability in the situation. And then when you do realize, try to ask yourself why you would do something like that. It's a very difficult thing to answer. One that you don't want to give the answer to because you know the answer is you. So, I guess from here on out, it's a matter of just identifying those character flaws and trying to make up for them, and probably videos to apologize to each one of the people that I want back in my life, and try to rebuild and mend those relationships that I've, pretty much destroyed. I'm not even going to say that it's a two-way street. I'll take full accountability on both sides, if that's what it takes to mend them, because, again, I struggle with that one, that, people do bad things the other way too, and that's a hard thing to deal with, but I can't control others. And if I want certain people in my life, then I have to take the full accountability, and then if they want to come to the table on their side at some point, that's their choice. But I continue to lose out on experiences in my life and relationships with people that I very much love and want to be a part of my life and share, their lives because of it. Like, my own brother, probably most of all, I've missed out on so much, not just with him, but my mom and my sister and my own kids. Like, it's a terrible position to have taken, and not stubborn and hard-headed that, you wage war with your own family. Because, again, I don't know that I want to go through it all right this second, but, I literally have fought with every person in my entire life for time with my kids, for the ability to be a father to my kids, which I lost out on at this point. Like, my kids are basically grown, and I've come to realize that even though it was God-given the right to be a father to my children, I haven't been able to be a father to them whatsoever. And it's very apparent at this point. I mean, neither of them look at me as a father, or, treat me as though I'm their father. They don't listen to me as their father. They don't respect what I would tell them, which is very unfortunate because, again, I'm not saying that I'm right about everything or whatever else, but as I've tried to explain to both boys, the things I'm offering them are only the answers to the mistakes, so that they don't have to go through the same mistakes that I made to get to a better place in life, to avoid the pitfalls, to avoid all the things that I was never told to avoid, which I'm not blaming my parents. They did the best they could, and that's all they could do, right? So, as much as I want to blame a lot of my own issues on them, or on my teachers, or just on the world in general, because I wasn't told, I've got to stop doing that and just come to terms with the fact that it was my responsibility to try my hardest to learn the answers before making the mistakes. I think I was pretty lazy about that throughout my life, that I allowed myself that as an out to use it as an excuse every time that something went wrong, or that I definitely didn't try to avoid mistakes. I went right into them head first, and then used all that bullshit to allow myself to say that it was okay and make excuses for it. I knowingly did stuff that was wrong countless times going into it, only to, point the finger somewhere else on the other side, saying that it wasn't my fault, or I didn't need to take responsibility for it, or, definitely not deal with the consequences, because I would avoid those at all costs. Which, the one thing I try to emphasize to both my children, and unfortunately it hasn't resonated, and I think that at some point they will suffer for it, but is the simple fact that to resolve problems as quickly as possible, as easily as possible, and as soon as possible, that to avoid problems, or to avoid conflict, or to avoid whatever the situation is when it arises, only lets it, fester and sit there and grow, and continued ignorance and pretending it's not there and whatever else, only allows it to grow more until eventually, like a volcano, is going to get enough pressure and it's going to come back to the surface and erupt. And at that time, when it does, it's going to cause a lot more havoc in your life than what it would have if you would have just resolved it at the time. The biggest problem I face when it comes to things like that now is the fact that others aren't willing to resolve problems, that they don't want to take accountability, and even if I take full accountability on both sides, they're not willing to join me in getting rid of those problems when they arise. And so instead, even with countless times trying to explain this and trying to beg people to just work with me for 1 second to resolve even the smallest problems, they all sit under the surface and fester. And they've bubbled back up, and they've destroyed relationships and people I care about, and needlessly, for reasons, just because people don't want to deal with shit when it happens. They just want to say that they don't do anything wrong, or don't want to admit to it, and again, everyone does stuff that's wrong. We're not perfect. No big deal. It doesn't make you a bad person or weak or whatever version you want to call that by admitting that you're wrong. It makes you a stronger person to take accountability for your own shit. At this point in my life, it's probably a bad thing to do as well. I'm happy to take accountability for all my shit. I'll take accountability for all your shit. Give it to me. I'll take accountability for the entire world shit. Because it's much easier to accept accountability and resolve the problem than it is to let that thing sit there and fester. It only destroys things. But that's not true problem resolution. That's just a cop-out like everything else. I don't know how to mitigate or manage these problems. One problem, probably one of the biggest problems I have, is that I have no coping skills. I don't know how to cope with problems. I don't know how to cope with anger. I don't know how to cope with stress. My coping mechanism is typically just to run away, to remove myself from the situation so that I don't have to deal with those emotions. It's a very poor choice in way to deal with things. Because every time I come back, like right this second as I'm driving back, the problems are still sitting there waiting. They haven't gone anywhere. They haven't gotten any smaller for sure. Which is the number one reason why I keep running away, because I'm scared to death of the problems that sit there and wait for me, that I know are there, that maybe no one else does. Ones that I'm not ready to admit to here on camera for sure, and ones that I still haven't even really admitted to myself that how big they truly are, or how much potential problem they could really be. I mean, I keep telling myself and telling others that there are problems of the size that could potentially end my life, whether that's full-blown physical death, or whether that's incarceration, or whether that's imprisonment in a very many ways. I've been dealing with a really hard thing the last couple of years. Of a very good friend of mine has imprisoned himself, literally imprisoned himself inside of his own house, and won't leave his house because of fear of what's on the outside, because of his own actions or whatever. And it's a scary thing to see. Limited or no human contact for long durations of time can cause people to go, I don't know how to explain it, but literally crazy, but not in the way that straitjacket, whatever. It just, when you have no feedback loop and you don't talk to others, you only have one person to run shit by, and that's yourself. That could be a very dangerous thing in a number of ways. And then when you finally do come out of your shell, or whatever, your cave, and interact with people, it's very off-putting. Like, the world that you've created inside your own mind that you believe is real, and that is the only thing that you know, because that's all you've experienced for whatever amount of time, is not what anybody else has experienced or believes, or a lot of times wants any part of, which could definitely be the struggles that I face when it comes to human interaction and engagement at this point. Is that the world that I've created for myself inside my own head is skewed, is jaded, because of the problem of not having the feedback from others, or the engagement with others. And I recognize this, and like I said, that's why I now am pushing hard and trying to engage with every human being I come in contact with at some level, just for the feedback. If I can offer them something positive or something for them as well, by all means, I'm willing to give whatever anybody can take from anything I have that will help them in their journey as well. That's a lot like this. This video is not for you. If you're watching it, maybe you're crazy. But if not, if you're just, anything I say, one word, you grab something from it and you can use it, by all means. I offer it to you freely, and I hope it helps you. But that's not what this is for. It's not for that. It's not for any purpose, really. It's just, I gotta talk to somebody. I gotta get shit out of my head, and this is the best idea I could figure out how to do that in a constructive way. At least it's out of my head and it's out somewhere else in the ether. And, maybe someday it'll be helpful to someone, or my kids, or whatever else. That was my idea last night, that being is the fact that I have zero communication with my oldest son at this point. I think that's what I'm going to attempt to do, is talk to him through these videos. I'm going to post them, and I'll text him the link, and maybe he'll open them. Maybe he'll watch 30 seconds or a minute or whatever, or maybe his girlfriend will watch him. And maybe it'll piss him off. Maybe it'll piss her off. I don't know. But out of ideas and whatever of how to re-engage with him at any level, because there's been barriers put up that now won't allow that. So that's not okay for me. That breaks my heart. I miss him very much. If he's listening to this, I miss him more than fucking anything. And it's my own fault. Like, things went bad, but got worse because of my own actions, because of my own words, because of him not responding to me, flipping out and going down rabbit holes that were unneeded and unwarranted, and I apologize for that. But when I don't get feedback, or I don't get what I want out of things or engagements with people, I tend to go way off the deep end trying to get reactions. And I'm sorry for that to anybody I've done that to. And Jackson, you most of all. If you're not getting the attention you want, little kids throw a fit, right? Similarly, that's what I've done. Is, I'm going to go to one extreme and back to the other just to try to get a reaction so that I'm getting what I want out of the interaction. And when someone doesn't engage and doesn't react, then I tend to go way off the deep end, and I don't stop. Have a problem with that. But this may be a way that I can at least limit or try and turn the volume down when it comes to that, because this way at least I'm seeing myself talk, I guess. And then maybe that makes me mentally believe that someone's hearing it, even if no one does. Not sure, but I think it's a good start to try to at least get it out there. And my biggest frustration is knowing whether or not he even reads my texts or ever, gets to see or hear what I'm trying to say to him. One of my biggest frustrations these days is text messages, that I do spend a lot of time thinking about what I'm saying and being very meaningful to what I'm trying to, say in my messages. And yes, I tend to write extremely long text messages, regularly exceeding the text characters allowed in a text message, which is kind of insane. I know, even I admit that. But what's even more insane and to me is hurtful is that when I do that and I send it to someone, it's not for any other reason other than because I have something to say to them. The things that are in it, because they're very heartfelt and meaningful, and it's what I'm trying to communicate to them. And when someone just immediately discounts attempting to even read them and never revisits them and basically just discounts them altogether, it's kind of like a slap in the face, and it's very hurtful. I mean, I can understand their choice to do so, I suppose, but if they think that there's nothing meaningful in a text that long, why would I have taken the time to write it? Being as much as I value time, I wouldn't waste my time in such a stupid way if I didn't care about the person, if what I was saying wasn't meaningful. So that's probably my biggest harm factor, is when I do that. And almost every time the response is they just ignore it. So I'm kind of setting myself up for that disappointment when that happens. But anyways, it's probably dragging out, so I'm going to cut it off here. But again, still on my drive. Day 2 now, 6:43 a.m., 26 hours and whatever minutes into a 6-hour drive. Though the sun is coming up. Not super beautiful one, but more beautiful than usual out here in the hills of California, foothills. In about a week or two, I'm sure it'll all be brown. So when it's green, it's one of the most beautiful places around.
but as soon as it turns brown, it's a terrible place to see. Anybody that's watching this, I apologize, and thanks for watching. And like I said, if you're getting something out of this, more power to you, man. Obviously, I'm struggling, but I'm of much better spirits than I've been in a long time. It's amazing what just talking to someone you love can do, and how empowering that can be to motivate you to want to change everything you have in your life and want you to actually live and try to change things when you've given up. So, to all y'all, if anybody's out there, much love, and hopefully change soon. Hopefully good things to come. Hopefully the best and biggest comeback story the world has ever seen. Or total disaster, who knows. Stay tuned. Alright, I gotta get out of here because I gotta get home. This is insane. I'll check back in, let you know the total time when we get there. Or sometime before that. Right on, man. Much love. Check on me soon.